morning. I'm Alice Finnamore. I'm the minister in Prince William Pastoral Charge in New Brunswick in Canada. Thank you for joining us. Gather us in, ground us in you. Gather us in, ground us in you. Gather us in, ground us in you. So, we are called to be disciples. We are called to be like our teacher. We are called to step out in faith. We're called to be all that we are created to be. We're called to stand together in support and in encouragement of each other on this path. Let's pray. God, you call us into ventures where we cannot see the ending. You call us into paths we have not yet walked and where we don't know the dangers. Give us courage. Lead us with your hand holding ours. May we lean on your strength. Amen. I'm going to read today from Matthew chapter 10, verses 24 to 39, reading from the Contemporary English Version. Jesus is saying, "Disciples are not better than their teacher, and slaves are not better than their master. It is enough for disciples to be like their teacher and for slaves to be like their master. If people call the head of the family Satan, what will they say about the rest of the family? Don't be afraid of anyone. Everything that's hidden will be found out, and every secret will be known. Whatever I say to you in the dark, you must tell in the light, and you must announce from the housetops whatever I have whispered to you. Don't be afraid of people. They can kill you, but they cannot harm your soul. Instead, you should fear God, who can both destroy your body and your soul in hell. Aren't 2 sparrows sold for only a penny? But your Father knows when any of them falls to the ground. Even the hairs on your head are counted, so don't be afraid. You are worth much more than many sparrows. If you tell others that you belong to me, I will tell my Father in heaven that you are my followers. But if you reject me, I will tell my Father in heaven that you don't belong to me. Don't think that I came to bring peace to the earth. I came to bring trouble, not peace. I came to turn sons against their fathers, daughters against their mothers, and daughters-in-law against their mothers-in-law. Your worst enemies will be in your own family. If you love your father or mother, or even your sons and daughters more than me, you are not fit to be my disciples. And unless you are willing to take up your cross and come with me, you are not fit to be my disciples. If you try to save your life, you'll lose it. And if you give it up for me, you will surely find it." Now, isn't that a confusing passage of Scripture? What I'm going to tell you today is as much for myself as for any of you. I need to remind myself regularly that I need to be who I was called to be, or am being called to be, regardless of where that calling may be leading me, even if it takes me away from what feels safe and comfortable. I've been thinking a lot about this lately and focused on this question during my week of retreat. The last 3 days of retreat were at Camp Abigail in PEI for Rural Roots Through the Holy. Our special speaker was Dr. Marvin Anderson, an international consultant on rural congregational ministry and rural communities. Marvin led us into many deep and meaningful conversations around our tables and in the larger group. What I have to say today comes out of our Saturday morning session, where he told us Kierkegaard's parable of the geese. Kierkegaard was a Danish theologian and philosopher. Like all of us, he loved a good parable, and sometimes he wrote one of his own. This is Marvin's version of Kierkegaard's story. Imagine that geese could talk, and that they had arranged things so that they too could have their church services and their worship like us. Every Sunday they would gather together, and a gander would preach. The essential content of that sermon was the exalted destiny of geese. Every time the Creator's name was mentioned, all the geese curtsied and the ganders bowed their heads. With the help of their wings, they knew they could fly away to far-off countries, blessed countries where they were really at home. But here they were, just like exiles. And so on, every Sunday. Then the gathering broke up and every goose waddled home. Then the next Sunday off they went to service again and home again. That was all. They thrived and grew fat. They became plump and tender. That was all. For while the sermon sounded so exalted and inspiring on Sundays, on Mondays they would gossip to one another about the sad fate of the goose, about the one who wanted to take his high destiny seriously, with the help of the wings that the Creator had given it. And they spoke of the horrors this goose had to endure. But they prudently kept this matter to themselves, because it would not be fitting, of course, to bring this up on Sundays, for it would be a mockery of both God and themselves. There were also some among the geese who looked ill and thin. For them, the others said, rather condescendingly, but well-intentioned, "You see, that's what comes of being serious about wanting to fly. It's because they're always thinking of flying that they get so thin and do not thrive and do not have God's grace as we do. That is why we get plump and fat and tender, for it is by God's grace that one gets plump and fat and tender." So it is with Christians. As Kierkegaard, they conclude that the domesticating grace of God is not meant to take seriously the wings that God gave us through the Spirit. For to do so actually emaciates our health and well-being, and ruins one's creaturely comforts and peace as an earth-bound creature. Better to stay put. Whereas, in fact, the wings are meant to be used as wings, allowing us to fly and soar and realize our human and divine aspirations to live a transcendent life. All of this was well-intentioned on the part of the geese, and it reminds me of being told far too often, I believe, that I should not brag. Pride goes before a fall and all that. I took that to heart, and despite how many gifts I have to share, I would not easily speak of them. Speaking about them could be dangerous and hurtful. I still remember how I felt one day long ago when I told someone at church that I'd been to Maritime Writers' Workshop. Her response still stings. "What? You? A writer?" Yes, but obviously I shouldn't say so, it seemed. Sometime after that, I was presenting at a conference in Wales. Afterward, the organizer said to me, "Alice, you are a star. Why aren't you shining?" I don't remember what I said, but I know inside of me I heard the words, don't brag, don't show off. Another time I said as much to someone else who gave me these wise words. It's not showing off if it's true. A friend later pointed out that a peacock does not hide his tail feathers. Those tail feathers are true. Putting them up for all to see is not showing off. I suspect that many of you, too, have those voices inside of you holding you back from flying, from being who God made you to be. Voices that tell you that you should not stand out from the crowd, to stay safe, stay quiet, stay put. On Saturday, I shared my story with the group and was surprised afterward how much my hands were shaking. It was a safe place. I was on topic. It was a helpful story. And yet those voices inside of me, even after all these years, were so strong that it felt that I had really stepped out of line. Like I'd soon get smacked down to the ground, put in my place, and told to stay put. I drove home on Saturday afternoon, marveling at how much that childhood message still affects me. That little farm girls should not let themselves get too big for their britches. I also pondered, if I were to find out that I only had a few more months to live, what would I regret not doing? Where have I heard the Spirit leading me, but I have put off following? The passage we just read from Matthew 10 is a hard one. I don't like to preach on it, but in the light of Kierkegaard's Geese, the story takes on a totally different flavor. I want to finish by sharing my own paraphrase of Matthew 10:24 to 39. And Jesus said, don't expect to be better than your teacher. It's enough to be like your teacher. I am your teacher, and it's enough to be like me. Be like me. But there is always a risk. If people say that I, your teacher, come from Satan, then you can expect to have the same said about you. But don't be afraid. Don't hide behind a mask, even if that mask is the mask of humility. False humility, I say. Don't hide. Who you are needs to be known. What the Spirit tells you about yourself, let it be seen in the light. Announced from the rooftops who you are with the gifts I have given you. No one can kill your soul, your authentic self, who you really are. You are worth more than many sparrows, and God knows when every one falls, every one of those sparrows. That's how important you are to God. So don't hide. I'm telling God, Jesus said, who you are, that you are mine, that you are part of me and part of God. And if you reject your God-given being, it's like you're rejecting me, and you will feel like you don't belong, despite the truth of who you really are. I know you hate conflict and have learned not to rumple people's feathers by being your true self. But remember, I did not come to bring peace. I did not come to bring you a conflict-free life. In fact, often your worst enemies are your family, both your relatives and your church family. They love you and try to protect you. They don't want you to stand out and get into trouble for being different from the crowd. They remind you of the burning times and warn you of that precipitous fall off the proverbial pedestal. They don't want you to be hurt. That's why they do it. You've experienced this yourself. Think of what you say to others that hold them back, those people you want to protect. But I tell you, if you love your family that way, you are not acting as one of my disciples. If you love and protect them this way with your words, instead of loving and encouraging their unique, God-given soul, you are not following me. And you are not encouraging others to follow me. I know it's easier, Jesus said, to be quiet, humble, and hidden, but I am calling you to pick up the weight of that cross and follow me. A cross lifts you up for all to see. The path of the cross is a dangerous one, but follow me anyway. If you try to save your life by making yourself small, you will lose the life you could be living. But if you give up the safe life and follow me, Jesus said, you will find life with a capital L. May these words from our ancient scriptures encourage us, lift us, and bring us to life. Amen. I, the Lord of sea and sky, I have heard my people cry. All who dwell in deepest sin, my hand will save. I who made the stars of light, I will make their darkness bright. Who will bear my light to them? Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. I, the Lord of snow and rain, I have borne my people's pain. I have wept for love of them. They turn away. I will break their hearts of stone, give them hearts for love alone. Who will speak my word to them? Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. I, the Lord of wind and flame, I will tend the poor and lame. I will set a feast for them. My hand will save. Finest bread I will provide, till their hearts be satisfied. I will give my life to them. Whom shall I send? Here I am, Lord. Is it I, Lord? I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. Thank you for joining us today. I hope that you will come out to our in-person service today. It is in Nakawik at the Kirk at 10 o'clock in the morning. And then through July, we will be meeting in Lake George at 10 a.m. Hope to see you. Have a good week. Blessings.